Good afternoon. Welcome to the February 20th, 2025 meeting of the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency Board of Directors. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Desmond?
Here.
Director Hume?
Here.
Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Hedges?
Here.
Director Cerna?
Here.
Director Jennings?
Yes.
Director
Here.
Kaplan?
Here.
Director Talamantes?
Here.
Director Holloway?
Present.
Director Johns?
Here.
Director Perez?
Present.
Director Baines?
Here.
And Director Stevens?
Here.
We have a full 13-member quorum.
Thank you. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of Safca is being live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov and will be recorded and re-aired on Metro Cable 14 on Saturday, February 22nd at 3 p.m. It will also be available on Safca's website within 48 hours after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, do we have any public comment or items not on the agenda?
I have not received any.
Is there anyone in the audience? Hearing and seeing none. Takes us to our Executive Director's report.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Rick Johnson, Executive Director. So I've been asked quite a bit lately about any impacts for some of the activities going on in Washington, D.C. on our project. So I thought I'd just take a couple of minutes and address those a little bit there. Probably our most important resource in executing our projects is the federal employee, and needless to say, they're feeling pretty attacked right now. So short of anything else, there's going to be some loss of morale, efficiency, and some of that right there. So that I worry about that to some degree. But between our two agencies that we work with the most, the Bureau of Reclamation's actually been hit harder than the Corps. Towards the end of last week, they did have to do layoffs, pretty significant amount of their workforce. They also all their future contracts were frozen, and they also had to go cancel all their existing construction contracts unless they could get an exemption proving they were critical. So they really are hitting them hard. And then Bureau has funding on two of our projects that was frozen. One was on the temperature control shutters at Folsom. Reclamation actually has a larger share of the funding than the Corps does. Their funding's been frozen. And then the other project is Reclamation's funding for an operations study that's part of the water control manual for the race. When it's done, was also frozen. So we will, I do worry we'll see some impacts on our projects up at Folsom. We do need the reclamation to be functioning. The Corps has fared better to date. There were some early things that caused them to slow down a few things, but they've gotten all of our construction projects going again. So they haven't had quite the delays, but I am a little concerned. Yesterday there was an announcement that Department of Defense was going to have some pretty big cuts, and so we'll have to see what goes down to the Corps. So at this point, we're moving forward with our construction projects. May see some impacts up at Folsom, but we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. So just wanted to share that's where we're at right now. Okay, moving on to some better news is just a few pictures the Corps provided on some of the projects that are still going on. Latest picture on the fish passage structure out at the weir, Sac Weir. You can see it coming up out of the ground. Moving over, this is looking at the vehicle bridge. You can see the piers coming up. And then this is just a different angle on that. So it's fun getting to see the structure coming up out of the ground. Moving up to Folsom, Dike 1, the raise up there is almost complete. Dike 6, they're working on that. This is some downstream erosion protection that they're putting on. On the right wing dam, they continue with the flood wall there, so we got active construction going on there. Okay, I've shared this picture with you before, but I need to explain what's going on, so I need to share it again. These are the stop logs that were manufactured in Alabama to bring out for work on the rays. This is just a schematic trying to show they'll put those 6 of those in place behind a gate so they can take the gate out of service and rebuild it. Each one of those is about 85,000 pounds. So why this is important is they got the corbels at the bottom, which hold the weight of the stop logs. Once the water came down, they inspected them and found out that they probably weren't going to be able to hold that weight. So they had to go in and do some work to repair them and beef them up so that they could handle that. That part's been done. And then they also found that the behind the vertical piece that the stop logs go, and I'm losing my mind here as to the term, is the grout's deteriorated, so they're fixing that right now. Hopefully then, early next month, they'll get started putting the stop logs in and can start work on the Gate 8. That'll give us, they're calling it the proof of concept. They'll let us see how long it takes the contractor to do it if there's other issues that come up, and then that'll help inform how long and how much it'll cost after that. This is just a closer-up picture of the work on the corbel repair. Then I mentioned earlier before that the Joint Federal Project, the hydraulic cylinder coating on those had cracked, and the Corps was replacing them. So this is at the manufacturer in Netherlands, a couple of pictures of the rods. The first shipment came out earlier this week, so they're headed our way. So just sharing that a little bit. Okay, so then I wanted to talk a little bit about 2025. We're kind of in a period of transition for Safca. Primarily in the past, over the last few decades, we've worked with the Corps to get all the studies and authorizations and new construction starts in place for our 6 projects, getting the appropriations both at the federal, local, and state level. And then more recently, we've seen a lot of activity in dealing with the getting the real estate and relocations ahead of construction. And the Corps had us help them significantly on some of their design with some of the consulting firms getting the designs moved forward. However, we're hitting this point now. This is a map of our system, and you can see all the green areas are the areas that are essentially complete construction. The red areas are the ones that are under construction right now, and then the blue will come in the future. So looking more specifically at the red, we've got pretty much all the work up at Folsom under construction right now. That'll take a few more years. Down at Natomas, Reach A and Reach E are the 2 biggest contracts there. They'll take a couple more years. And then on Common Features 2016, the Weir is going to take a little longer too. But then going and looking, we don't have a lot left that's in the blue. And specifically up at Folsom, just Dike 7 is the only one left to be awarded. Reaches F and G are the big ones on Natomas, and then down on Common Features 2016 is pretty much the erosion work. So most of those designs are pretty well along. The Corps won't need a lot of our assistance in those. There'll still be a few real estate issues here and there, but for the most part, those are done. So moving forward, we're going to be looking a little different in some of our activities. We're in a good spot with DC. We don't have any heavy-duty requests there. We don't need any authorizations or new starts or any policy issues for a while. Relatively small appropriation needs. Natomas will need a little bit more, and we get that funded annually anyway. They're waiting to see on a couple of the claims to see how large those are. The Yellow comm study gets funded annually, but that's a relatively small amount. And then we'll see after the proof of concept up at the raise whether we need any more funding or not. So really, until the comm study is done in 4 or 5 years, we don't have any heavy-duty requests from DC. So we'll be turning our focus now to the following items. Real estate. All the real estate we purchased can count against our cost share for our federal projects, but we have to get that reviewed and approved as credit. And we've got hundreds of millions of credit sitting there. To date, the Corps has not approved any of them, and this goes back to some of the real estate back as far as 2007. They have come back finally and decided what exactly they want to see. So we'll be repackaging the previous submittals, have to do some new appraisals. We still have about 100 real estate packages that we estimate we're going to have to put together to get credit for that 100 million. So it'll take several years to get through that. Then the other thing that we're turning our focus on is the title to most of the properties that Safca's purchased has to get turned over to the state. And then anything that doesn't get turned over to the state to the local maintaining agencies. And then we do have some easements that we need to get to the utility companies. The state has been very difficult in deciding what they want and their process, and it keeps modifying a little bit. So it's been kind of slow. So we're estimating it's going to take probably at least a decade with those about 550 parcels that we need to turn over there. So this is going to be a major activity that we're doing. And then there's other properties that we have to maintain, primarily mitigation properties. We're required to either own or maintain the properties in perpetuity so that the habitat value stays there. We've got more than 425 parcels that this fits under. So we're working on trying to find long-term management partners and a way to fund those long-term. So these are our three major activities that we're going to switch gears on. I just kind of wanted to give you a feel for we're going to be moving from some of what we've been doing in the past, and this will be our focus moving forward a little bit. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Chair,
much. Yes.
I do. Sorry.
Sorry.
Just a quick question on those 425 or more than 425 parcels that need to be maintained in perpetuity. You mentioned we're looking for partners that might be willing to do that. And this is probably something you don't know off the top of your head, but where they're located, is there a resource conservation district or some sort of conservancy that has a geographical reach over that area?
Yeah, so in some areas, I mean, we've got properties spread all throughout with all the projects. So we actually have had, for example, we were for a while having the Natomas Conservancy maintained for those. They wanted out of that arrangement, so we need a new one up there. In some cases, we have Sacramento County Parks maintain some of the ones that are in the parkway. But yeah, wherever there's we are talking to some of those types of agencies, and then we're looking at how we can set up an endowment or a trust or something to maintain those over time. So finding those and getting them all lined up with the right folks that are willing to do it is what we're working on right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Johnson. With that, we will recess into closed session.
Chair, I think we have some potentially recusals before we go into closed session.
Okay, I thought we were going to just do that at report out, but okay.
I'm going to recuse myself on the first item.
Okay, Vice Chair Holloway will be recusing on the first item.
I'll be recusing on the first three items in closed session.
Okay. That's Director Kaplan. Anyone else? All right.
Thank you, so noted.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Desmond?
Here.
Director Hume?
Here.
Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Hedges?
Here.
Director Cerna?
Here.
Director Jennings? Here. Director Kaplan? Here. Director Talamentes? Director Holloway? Yes. Director Johns?
Here.
Director Perez?
Present.
Director Bain? Here. Director Stevens?
Here.
We have a 12-member quorum.
Actually, Director Talamantes is here.
Thank you. We have a 13-member quorum.
Okay, council, is there anything to report out?
Yes, I'd like to report that Director Holloway was not present and did not receive any information related to the discussions on APN 214-0010-011, and that Director Kaplan was not present and did not receive any information related to the discussions on any of the items on East Levy Road.
Okay, then I assume that Director Kaplan and the Vice Chair will have a nice afternoon. We're going to...
We have consent matters next.
Oh, we still have consent. I'm sorry. You are correct.
We have consent matters, and items 2 through 10 are in order.
I want to have a good afternoon. Okay. Are there any questions of an item that's on consent?
Move consent. Second.
Okay, hearing no questions, is there any member of the public that would like to address the board at this time on an item on consent? Hearing and seeing none. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Thank you, Director Kaplan. Now. Yeah. That's the only thing. So, yeah, okay.
And for the record, we're acknowledging that Director Kaplan and Director Holloway are recusing themselves and leaving the building for a happy Friday afternoon, Thursday afternoon.
Girl Scout cookies if you want to meet me outside.
If you hadn't asked me,
Okay, separate matters. Item 11 is a public hearing resolution of necessity number 2025017 regarding Sacramento County APN 214-0010-011, property at East Levy Road, property owners Tezo Peter Canonelos, Demetra Canonelos, Spiridian, E. Avdis, and Georgia Avdis as trustees of the Avdis family, trust dated 9/21/06, John Zorbis, Harry Zorbis, Georgia Decaluth, and Connie Vamvoulides.
we'll give you a B on that one, Lindy.
I had it so good before I got the record.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, directors. Matt Turgot, Real Estate Program Manager at Safca. The property mentioned is located on East Levy Road on the land side of the Natomas East Main Drainage Canal, West Levy, in the Natomas Basin area of Sacramento County. Acquisition of the property is required for the NIMDEC West Levy Reach G component of Phase 4B of the project. This exhibit shows the different reaches of the Natomas project, and we are in Reach G on the right hand, the bottom right hand. Attachment B1 is a sketch that shows the levee improvements at the northwest portion of the property on East Levy Road. These improvements include widening of the top of the levee and flattening of the landside levee slope, construction of a seepage stability berm, construction of an operation and maintenance road at the landside toe of the levee, and the establishment of a flood control works protection zone. And attachment B2 is a sketch that shows the similar improvements on the southeast portion of the property, and the only difference really is the width of the acquisition between the two areas. This is a wider acquisition. Attachment C is a map of the project reach showing the location of the property, and you can see that in the right-hand corner. Attachment D1 is an exhibit that shows the proposed fee acquisition area and the proposed easement acquisition area. It's kind of hard to see on this one, but we have a better exhibit coming up. So the fee is the brown area, and the access easement is the little yellow square, kind of by the road up there on the top. Attachment D2 is an exhibit that shows the temporary construction easement. Again, it's not a great exhibit to see right now, but it's parallel to the fee acquisition. So we put those together so you can see them better here. And you can see the fee acquisition in red, the acquisition easement in yellow and the temporary construction easement parallel in blue. So the fee interest is needed to construct the levee improvements to ensure that no encroachments or excavations undermine the integrity of the levee improvements and allow for the proper operation and maintenance of the flood control features to take place. The permanent access easement is needed to adjust the ramp that connects Sorrento Road to East Levee Road, and the temporary construction easement is required for replacing the owner's fence along the new property line. Attachments E through E3 is the project description and necessity for the acquisition, environmental compliance documents and considerations in selecting the mitigation sites, and additional design analysis that was done. On March 7th of 2022, Safca sent a letter to the owners of the property advising them that the upcoming levee project will affect their property. On July 28th of 2022, Safca sent a letter to the property owners advising them that Safca is preparing an appraisal to acquire a portion of their property in fee. On January 11th of 2023, Safca sent a letter to the property owners advising them that the acquisition areas required for the project have been updated to reflect a more current design. On June 22nd of 2023, Safca provided a formal offer to purchase the property rights, which consisted of the fee acquisition, the permanent easement, and the temporary construction easement. Then on May 14th of 2024, in an attempt to avoid litigation while we were negotiating, and while also addressing Safca's urgent need for possession of the property, Safca sent a letter to the property owners offering additional compensation in exchange for an irrevocable right of entry to construct the project. This right of entry would grant Safca the possession of the property and thus allow for more time for negotiations to take place. Safca and the owners, they did execute this right of entry, allowing for additional time to negotiate. However, this right of entry, it did state that if within 6 months of the agreement being executed, that no agreement has been reached for the compensation amount, that the owners may initiate an inverse condemnation action if this board does not vote to pursue a resolution of necessity. And that time period is this month, at the end of this month. Attachment L is a diary of discussions between Safca's right-of-way acquisition agent and staff and the owners and their representatives, during which they discuss the potential effects of the project on the property and the requirements that the interest in the property is needed for the project. And on February 3rd of 2025, Safca did mail a written notice to the owners of the property advising them that this board would hold a hearing today at this time to consider the adoption of a resolution of necessity to acquire the property rights by eminent domain. So with this ownership, they are dispersed internationally, so that's been one of the challenges during negotiations. However, we were able to get everyone together for that right of entry. However, in the time we have left, we don't feel confident that we're going to be able to reach an agreement on the compensation before the 6-month period is up. So we will, as always, continue to negotiate with the property owners to reach a resolution, but at this time we request your consideration for this adoption of the resolution.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. DeGroot. Is there any questions before we open up the public hearing? Is there any questions from the board? Hearing, seeing none, open up the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the board at this time on this item? Seeing and hearing none, receiving no cards, I take it?
I have not received any comments.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move to issue the RON.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12 is a public hearing resolution of necessity number 2025018 regarding Sacramento County APN 226-0010-002, property at 5625 East Levee Road, property owners Spiridian E. Avdis and Georgia Avdis as trustees of the Avdis Family Trust, dated 9/21/06.
Mr. Goldberg, considering what was transpired in closed session,
It's, if the board so chooses, there is a proposal on the table to continue the item until April. Both items 12 and 13 would require a board vote to do so.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we continue till April.
Second.
All right. Any questions? Any public comment?
I've not received any.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Item number 13 is a public hearing resolution of necessity number 2025019 regarding Sacramento County APN 226-0010-003, property at 53111 East Levy Road, property owner Nick Abatis.
Okay, I will move to continue for 60 days or till April.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Any public comment? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other business before the board at this time, Madam Clerk?
I'm not aware of any.
All right, then we are adjourned.